We begin with the aftermath of Hurricane Ian, and President Biden and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden. They're meeting with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis today, and the First Lady of Florida as well, in hard-hit Fort Myers, ground zero for that hurricane after Hurricane Ian tore through the region. For more, ABC News' Ike Ujochi joins me live from Venice, Florida, and ABC's Kenneth Moten joins us here in Washington. Kenneth, President Biden, Governor Ron DeSantis, they are bitter political opponents. How did today's discussion go?
It appears that it went well. Both men praising each other, which is a first because publicly we typically see a lot of criticism, especially on the Ron DeSantis side of things. This really loud and harsh conservative voice who is known for criticizing everything from the president's mental state to his politics. But you heard the president heaping praise on the remarkable job, a quote directly from the president there, that he has done in the wake of Ian. You see the two men who were shaking hands there. And then later on, we were able to hear from the president and Ron DeSantis as they gave an update on the federal response, which has just been extraordinary here. And even though, yes, they are political rivals, these two men, especially Ron DeSantis, they need each other because people are suffering. The people of Florida who survived this hurricane, who lost everything in some cases, they need the help of the federal government, which is why you've seen those federal disaster funds be rolled out so quickly and be approved by the Biden administration. And the president thought it was important, the White House thought it was important for the president to get on the ground there as soon as possible in Florida to survey the damage. And he was able to see some really intense damage there, according to the reports we're getting down there from the FEMA director, who also said that Hurricane Ian is going to be one of the most costly or more costly disasters we've seen in years, billions of dollars in damage to infrastructure. And it is this federal government, the Biden administration, who is going to be tasked with helping Florida get out of this mess and start to rebuild.
All right, and obviously that's really the purpose of the meeting today, to show a united front. State government, federal government, Democrat, Republican, political opponents, but all there, they're saying, for the recovery efforts. And Ike, you've been in Venice there for several days now, reporting on that community, getting to know it. How are recovery efforts progressing today?
Well, today we're definitely seeing a ramping up of the federal presence and, like you said, the overall recovery efforts here today. Back on Monday, when I was speaking to residents, a lot of them were really saying that they haven't seen FEMA or any kind of federal presence on the ground, and it was something that they really wanted to see. Today, that's not so much the case. What we're seeing today is all of those linemen. We heard Governor Ron DeSantis say over 42,000 linemen. They've been all throughout these streets here in Venice, really working on the power. That's been a major complaint from several of the residents here. It is 90 degrees here in Florida right now, and a lot of these homes, they don't have any power, which means they don't have working air conditioning, or they don't even have a working ceiling fan. Getting that power on will at least give some temporary relief for those residents really stuck in their homes right now. In terms of some of the other residents, right now, they're just looking to see how they can put the pieces back together. The damage here in Venice is extensive, and it's not necessarily from the floodwaters, but it's from the wind. That's what's making so much of the issues here right now. And the residents here tell me that the fact that President Biden is here working in conjunction with Governor Ron DeSantis is certainly a positive sign, Terry.
It is, and the optics of it are just as important in some ways as the substance. It is a commitment that is beginning now and will have to go probably past both these men's administrations in Florida and in Washington. And Kenneth, the president is also going to cross the aisle, figuratively, to speak and meet with another Republican, Senator Rick Scott, who is another bitter political adversary. What do we know about that?
In an update, not only did he meet with Rick Scott just within the hour or so, Terry, he also met with Marco Rubio. So that, if you're doing the math with me here, Terry, that means 3 Florida Republicans who say a lot of bad things about Joe Biden, who had to come face to face with him, shake his hand, and to essentially say, yeah, we need all those federal dollars. We need your help. And in some cases, Marco Rubio and even DeSantis, when he was a first-year congressman, who voted against aid for Superstorm Sandy for New Jersey and New York. And in some of those voting records there can be a little complicated, but the basic, the foundation and what we know here is that they voted against it. And in some cases, like Marco Rubio, I want to make sure I get all the points out here. Marco Rubio actually then eventually did vote for aid, but when they initially voted against it, both these men, DeSantis and Rubio, they said that it was because it had extra things on it. It had extra pork on it, something we know very well here in Washington. And some would say that was just an excuse not to give millions of dollars in aid, and now you're asking for a lot of money for your state here. But that's the politics of it all. But at the end of the day, you've got the White House here saying we are one team. This is about human decency. We're appealing to the better angels here. And when you see people in need after a devastating storm rip through your state, it's the federal government and your local government who are going to work together to be there for you. And
it does tend to be the case that in America you see the best and not the worst of people after a disaster. And Ike, I want to go to you on that. You know, we talk a lot about politics. We talk too much about politics. Our politics are divided bitterly in many ways. Do you sense that on the ground at all? What's the political temperature there?
Well, on the ground, to be honest, I really don't hear that. We know that we're in an area that may not be as friendly to President Joe Biden, but as for right now, I actually heard calls of these residents talking about they want to see the president here. They understand, too, what it means to put politics aside for in times of crisis. We know 16 months ago, these two men met together in Surfside when we had that building collapse. This is the same type of deal here. They know that these two men are diametrically opposed to each other politically and other things as well, but they know that they both need to work together in order to really get this place together and really to get that relief to the residents who need it. And it really is relief. I want to tell you right now, the damage here in Venice is very extensive, and I want to give you a quick look just exactly what I'm talking about. Take a look to my right here right now. You'll see this house. It's very fine, intact. Obviously, the grass is growing and the flag is waving, but just to tell you how really chaotic this hurricane is, just next door right here, take a look at this house. Jeez. The complete front face of the home is completely down. Look at this right here on the front ground. You can even see the inside of the home right here. Tables, chairs, personal items scattered all throughout the front lawn. You know what else is scattered? This insulation. This has been a key part of the damage I see here. These little puffy things, that's insulation. That's something that will be help that was in the walls. They're obviously trying to keep the house warm or cold. It's been scattered all throughout here. Look at this, right in the driveway, non-stop. You see these massive piles that have really amassed all over. Look at this big pile right here. You can still see some parts of the home. And another thing that you have to understand too is that the wind damage caused a lot of damage to the siding. Look at this. Piles of aluminum here, parts of the homes.
Just torn
They've all
apart.
been gathered together here in the front. And it's really emblematic of just how crazy this storm was. And it wasn't just the land, too. We've seen a lot of things on the water. Earlier today, we saw those tow trucks trying to get some of these boats that have been partially submerged in the water, getting them out of here. We saw some of those independent contractors trying to work on those boat lifts. We know a lot of those were taken out. So it's just really emblematic of how crazy this hurricane was, which highlights the need for these two men to work together to bring the relief for these Florida residents, Terry.
Ike, that was very vivid, and thank you. Sorry for speaking over you there, but thanks as always for your reporting down there, and Kenneth for your insight and reporting here in Washington. Thanks very much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.